Hello, it's Duncan. It's a sad truth of modern software development that maintaining our build and deployment systems is taking more and more of the time we could be using to write our own bugs. After my recent video on upgrading Gradle dependencies, viewers recommended that I invest some more time in version catalogs, which catalog version information, and the refreshVersions plugin, which refreshes those versions. So that's what I did, and I made this video. And after quite a while, everything is tickety-boo. We've been doing a little build maintenance recently. We installed this com GitHub benmains versions plugin, which allows us to see which of our dependencies are the latest and which have later versions that we could update to. And I finally managed to convert our build.gradle to build.gradle.kts. The first time through with AI Assistant took quite a bit of manual work, but Devox Genie connected to Claude 3.5 seemed to do it flawlessly and quickly. There's a build problem left, which is that the versions of various libraries have moved on in the 2 weeks since we last updated. It's nice that this plugin tells us when they're out of date. What it doesn't do, though, is update them for us. So we had to jump through the hoops of finding what the latest version is and editing the file. The Gradle refreshVersions plugin, however, promises to do that for us. As you'll see, it will look up the latest versions of things and offer to edit. But before we do that, it would be good to address the problem of version numbers scattered around this file. So at the moment, we have hard-coded version numbers in the plugins. We have hard-coded version numbers for some of our implementations. And where we're using the same version number, for example here, to group a bunch of things together, we're using a Kotlin variable to just substitute. And then finally, HTTP4K has this idea of a platform that sets the version, and then all of the implementations will inherit this version. Gradle has a built-in way of managing versions of things, especially across projects, and that is called a version catalog. And when we have a version catalog, we can refer to a dependency or a group of dependencies with a symbol like libs groovy core. Now, the documentation for this explains it in terms of putting things in our settings.gradle or settings.gradle.kts to define some libraries and versions and so on. But I think in practice, most people use a TOML file, which looks like this. Now, we could try and pull the versions and the dependencies that we have into a TOML file ourselves, or we could use AI. I'm going to try the latter, so we will try Devox Genie again. We'll take this file and add it to the prompt context, and then we'll say extract a Gradle versions catalog from the build.gradle.kts, please. Here's a libs.version.toml. And here are the changes we need to make to build.gradle.kts. So let's do the build.gradle.kts version things first. So we'll take that and put it into there with a bit of a relayout. That's a shame, but I guess I'll do it by hand. Like that. Maybe I should have asked for a diff. And the dependencies, let's copy those to the clipboard and just select that. Now, these libs aren't resolvable because they're in the libs.toml file, which is this thing. So we'll take this file, copy it to the clipboard, and it says it lives in libs.versions.toml, which you can paste in the Gradle directory. So we could ask for a diff, that sometimes works, but let's just do this. So we'll say new file libs.versions.toml, add that and paste everything. Go back here, and if we refresh Gradle with luck, probably downloading some things, but it appears to compile. And note now that these vowels are not required because those are handled up in here. We might want a sanity check that the versions are the same. So JUnit version is 5.11.3, 2.18, and so on. I think maybe we can just get rid of those now. And we'll go to here and we'll try Gradle clean test. And after quite a while, everything is tickety-boo. We now have all of our versions in one place. And in fact, we have symbolic names for things that we can bring in to this file. And also, if we had other builds, other modules or projects in our app, then they could all share the same version in this libs.toml. So I think I'm going to check that in with extract lib.versions.toml. Splendid. Now that we have a version catalog, IntelliJ supports it quite nicely. So for example, we can navigate from here to here. We can also navigate to version refs, I think. Oh, not that way around, maybe this way. Ah, yes, like that. And we can also see whether we've got more than one reference. So Kotlin, for example, has 2 references. So that's a good candidate for having a separate version. But Duke, well, it's only in one place. So whether or not the symbol for Duke is worth having is a bit more debatable. We can't, unfortunately, inline, which would be a nice feature. So on the whole, at the moment, I think I'm just going to leave all these alone, except maybe for one of them, which is versions, which is really confusing, because what does versions mean? So I think I'm going to just take that constant, copy it, delete it from there, F2, find unused, and then there we are, a version ref that doesn't exist, and we can just change this from versions ref to the thing that it was referencing, which was that. As you can see, every now and again, IntelliJ or something gets confused about whether these references exist. That one it says doesn't exist, but I think we'll find that if we just re-import, everyone is happy again. Okay, so now our versions are in this separate file, and our libraries in this file and referenced, as in here, for example, as libs something something. But we still know some of these things are out of date. Let's remind ourselves. There we go. HTTP4K could be upgraded, as could Kotlin Lang, although maybe we don't want a release candidate. Duke could be upgraded, and SLF4J could be upgraded. Now that everything is nice and centralized in our libs.versions.toml, let's go back to the Gradle refreshVersions plugin. It says we install it in settings.gradle. So let's take that. And now we're told to update dependencies, we just have to run Gradle refreshVersions. So let's take that. We've gained a versions.properties file, which is empty. It seems that refreshVersions started with this versions.properties file and really needs it to be around, even though it can be empty. But more importantly, our libs.versions.toml has been edited to show us all the new versions that we could use. So you can see here that Kotlin is at 2.0.21, but we could be using beta 1, beta 2, or release candidate. Don't think we want any of those, so we can just delete those. Flyway, that could be at 10s, but we still have some issue with that not connecting to our database, so let's just delete. Goodness me, all those. JUnit, there are no updates. Jackson, there are though. So we can basically just update that to 1, delete the line. SLF4J, there are 2 alphas that I'm not interested in. HTTP4K, it turns out that we could be at 33.1.0, so let's just update that. I like the opt-in nature of editing commented outlines, that's good. So Hikari could be 6.1, Duke Core could be 15, and that's everything up to date. We have some issue here with the Kotlin stdlib being unused, but apart from that, that's good. So let's go and see whether we can build. So clean test. And there we go. I think we're as up to date as we need to be. One last little look at dependency updates. Check it agrees with refreshVersions. So it's now telling us that Flyway we could update, but we deliberately didn't take that. Kotlin we could update, but we deliberately didn't take that. Duke code gen, there's some interesting little quirk there that I still haven't worked out. And SF4J, we are not taking that out for update. So now we have a single point of truth of all of our versions and symbolic names for our libraries. It's a little untruth there that this was generated by refreshVersions catalog, because it wasn't. Get rid of that. And we know that we can run refreshVersions at any point in order to find out what options are available to us and easily apply them in the file. So short and sweet today, let's commit that with add this to VCS and introduce refreshVersions Gradle plugin and update some dependencies. Sure, everything's a commit, and I think we're done for the day, except for a code analysis that tells us that Kotlin stdlib is not used. I am inclined to leave it for now, and we had some issue with XML appendable that we will sweep under the carpet. I find I can only do a small amount of gradling in a day before I begin to question my life choices, but it has been good to get to know the Gradle versions catalog. Finally, in the build.gradle, generate Duke does take a little while as it talks to the database, so we don't really want it running on every build, but we do want it running if we change the database. How do we know if we change the database? Well, no, I'm going to leave that till next week. If you want to know as soon as that episode is published, then please subscribe and maybe even click that notification bell. Like this video so the channel stays in your YouTube feed. And if you find this useful, then you can thank me by buying a copy of the book that I wrote in that price called Java to Kotlin: A Refactoring Guidebook, details of which are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching.